All right, so I was honestly surprised to see how many people were interested in how I got the Supra and kind of knowing the whole story behind that. So here I go, and I figured I'll go ahead and start from the very beginning on when I first tried to get my first Supra. I was 18 years old. That's 12 years ago. So I was driving around this car and I remember I was working at a convenience store. I had saved up some money and I found my first Supra. It was a 1995 single turbo. It was already swapped to a single turbo, 6-speed, original turbo 6-speed car. It had a funky body kit on it and it was painted turquoise blue, but I knew what the car was, so I knew there was a lot of potential in it. So I had a pretty good amount to put down, and I needed some help for, I had to finance a car. It was $18,000 back then, and I needed some help to finance a car, so I needed somebody to co-sign. Unfortunately, that did not happen. I asked my parents for some help, and I guess me being 18 years old, trying to buy a car for that much, maybe they just didn't trust me. Whatever the reasoning was, I respect it. So time went on. Every once in a while I would look for Supras, and they were just way out of my budget. I mean, I figured if I couldn't get anybody to help me get one for 18,000, anything over 20, there's just no way. So I forgot about it for a while. So soon after that, I went into college, and I started, I was working full-time, going to school full-time. I was actually doing quite a bit. I was doing 15-18 hours a semester and working, anywhere from 35 to 40 hours a week. So I was actually really busy. So I needed something to kind of, distract myself, to keep myself busy away from the books at the same time. So then this baby comes into the picture. I get a hold of this car. It's a long story behind this car that would be for a different video on how I was able to afford this car. But I mean, one thing for y'all to know, it was nothing like this when I when I got the car. It was nowhere near it. So during my college career, I was able to build this car, and in a way, I hate to say it, but in a way I was hoping that this car would make me forget about the Supra. It would make me forget about wanting a Supra. Just for y'all's information, fixing one of these cars is nowhere near as expensive as it is to fix up a Supra. Supras are very expensive. The parts are really expensive. But I had a lot of fun with this car. It went from your basic 400 horsepower to now, I don't know, 900, 1,000 horsepower, whatever it has. I don't know, I haven't put on the dyno. But then soon after that, I got together with my wife, and I got a job, and life started to kind of come together, so I thought. So me and my wife, we started our life together. We moved in, and things were rolling along. I mean, she always knew that I wanted a Supra. I mean, she knew it was my dream car, but I would, in a way, lie to myself, and I would tell her on how I was done with cars, I was done with building cars, and how expensive they were, and just making up any sort of excuse to not get one, or at least just maybe a reason to lie to myself on why I wouldn't have one. So I was still driving around my little 1995 Mitsubishi Eclipse. Every once in a while I had some little hiccups on there. During the time, I didn't know it's just as easy as a computer to fix all the issues, but I mean, that car's already fixed, so it's good to go. But during that time, I did have a lot of frustrations. I had issues with the car. I was borrowing my dad's truck just to get around, get to work and home, and I'm an individual who, I consider myself very independent. I really do not like to ask people for help, and I mean, I know there's nothing wrong with it, but that's just how I am. So I told myself, you know what, I have a good job. I mean, everything's stable right now and it should be okay. So I went ahead and looked for a vehicle, and I told myself I would only get a new vehicle once and I'll never do it again. So I decided, and I wanted a truck, I needed a truck. So I was in the fence about getting a gas truck, but I told myself, if I'm gonna do it once, I'm gonna do it once, and I'm gonna do it right. So I got myself this big mama right here. It's a 2013 F250, all the bells and whistles. It's set up. I won't go into detail on this video. So got that truck, and life was good. So then we started, life started moving along, and that's when we decided that we wanted to start a family. And basically that's when life completely took a turn for the worst. Sometimes you think some of the simplest things you wouldn't have many issues with. I mean, for example, at least in my eyes, everyone has a family, everyone has kids, that's never an issue. Well, unfortunately for us, that was not the case. To make a long story short, for 4 years we tried to have a little baby, someone to leave all this stuff for, once we're not here. And 4 failed pregnancies later, I don't really know how to explain the feelings that you go through after trying for 4 years, and 4 different times it's a different situation. 7 doctors don't know what to tell you. They don't know how to explain what's going on, except to tell you that you have the worst luck they have ever seen. So at that point, I didn't want to accept it, but I was, depression's a serious thing. So I told myself, you know what, I need to get my mind off of everything. So I started Supra hunting again, and that helped. It helped quite a bit. It kept me busy. I started researching, learning more and more about them, and I found 3 Supras. One of them, the first one, the gentleman who I was talking to, he ended up trading the car. I had the loan approved, I had everything all set up, and he ended up trading the car for a GTR, for R34 GTR. The second Supra, it was a nice Supra. I think it was a 95, very nice looking car, but for the price, I just felt like it was a lot of money, and I wasn't getting much in return. There wasn't really much done to the car. It needed some work. I just didn't feel right about it. But you know what? During that time, I was just so desperate to get my hands on something just to keep myself busy. I was going for it. I was planning out how to transport the car from Florida here to Texas. And at that moment, my wife was in Mexico, and I told her, hey, what do you think about this car? This is it. This is what it could turn into. As I've said before, I am very blessed to have her in my life, and she said that she would support anything that I wanted to do. Great. So that, that's perfect. But deep down inside, I knew that I wasn't going to be satisfied. It's just something, I don't know, it just didn't feel right. So I searched Craigslist all over the United States, Facebook Market all over the United States, OfferUp all over the United States, all the forums, everything. I searched everything, just to find something that would feel right, and I just couldn't find it. So this is where it gets crazy. I was bored, and I went to YouTube, and I put in Supra for sale. Who do you know actually goes onto YouTube and searches for something that they want to buy? I never in my wildest dreams thought I would do that, but I did. And there it is, the very first video, that popped up, Toyota Supra for sale. And the video was a year old at that point. So I was like, yeah, I'll go ahead and click on it. Why not? So when I click on it, the gentleman was recording. He turned on the car, he popped open the hood, and that's when my mind, blown. And I'm like, holy crap. You know, he walks around the car's idling, you know, it sounds amazing. He pops the hood, and that's, you know, I'm just mind blown. And he goes through the interior, and the car is a 1997 15th anniversary Toyota Supra. And you know, that's exactly 100% what I've always wanted. I've always wanted the anniversary edition. So I mean, the video being a year old, I was like, there's no way this car's still for sale. But let me look at the description. The description had a phone number here from where I'm from Fort Worth, Texas. And I said, what do I have to lose? Let me shoot this guy a quick text and see what he says. So I texted him, hey man, do you still have the Supra for sale? And I threw my phone on the couch, didn't even think about it, and then the phone rings, and he responds, yes sir, I do. At that moment in time, my whole body got full of chills. You know, I feel like I'm getting goosebumps right now. But I was happy that the car was still for sale, but I was still thinking, there's no way I can afford such a car. There's no way I can afford that car. And you know, we start going back and forth. He starts telling me everything about the car, and once I see the modifications list, I'm like, there's no way I can afford that car. No chance in hell. But you know, we talked for a few days, and you know, he seemed like a very, very straight up guy, and he is. You know who you are if you're watching this. Thank you. And I made him an offer. And you know, I told him, look man, this is what I have, and actually this is what I can have. I still had to go through the bank and you know, try to see if I can get a little bit more. And you know, he asked me some questions. He did it kind of, it's almost like an interview. He asked me what kind of cars have I driven, how, you know, basically, can I control this car? And he straight up told me, I'd rather this car sit in my garage for years than to sell it to someone who is going to wrap it around a tree. And you know, I respect that, because these cars are actually getting really, really hard to find. So you know, I explained my whole situation with him, and I told him everything that I've gone through. And I told him, I mean, yeah, I haven't driven a almost 1400 horsepower car, but I assure you I can work my way up. But that's besides the point. So you know, after I made my offer, he agreed to it. So then when he agreed, I'm like, holy shit, well now I got to figure out how do I get the money for this. So this is where it gets really, really interesting. So I went over to a credit union, and I asked for an increase in the loan. I don't want to get into the details on what type of loan I had to get or anything, but when I went to go sign for the loan, they had a pamphlet. And I'm gonna see if I can find the pamphlet, and if I do find it, I'm gonna put a picture of it right here. And on that pamphlet, it said auto loan, and there was a picture of a Supra. A picture of a Supra on a pamphlet in 2018. And I thought to myself, holy crap, that's just insane. You know, it's almost like it's meant to be. So besides, you know, the whole funny thing about, you know, the Supra being on the pamphlet there for the auto loan, the Supra was not for sale. Considering that the video had been a year old, I asked him, I was like, hey, why haven't you sold the car? Is there anything wrong with the car? And he said no. He's like, actually the car is not even for sale. I tried to sell it you know, I think it was about a year or two before that, and he had dealt with a lot of people lowballing him, and you know, just no, really, it didn't give him the reason to want to sell the car. So he took it off. He said he had to post it all over social media, you know, all these other car selling pages, and he said he took it all down. He took everything down except for the YouTube video. He said he had completely forgotten about the YouTube video, and he said that he was shocked the fact that I even texted him. So in a way, I got lucky to have found that Supra. If he had taken down that video, I would not have found it, but the video was there. You know, so with all that being said, you know, me finding that Supra by accident, or I like to look at it as power of attraction. You know, the law of attraction. When you really want something, things are going to come to you in a weird way. You're never gonna understand how that happens, but I mean, that's just my point of view. So anyways, you know, I went to the credit union, signed all my paperwork, and there she is. That's how I got my car. You know, it's crazy how things work out. Sometimes you don't really understand why things happen the way they do, but one thing I will tell y'all: be patient on the things that you want. And sometimes when you're pissed off because things don't go your way, it's probably for a reason. Maybe you don't understand that reason at that moment in time, but you will eventually. So, you know, after that, I bought the Supra, and guess what? A few months later, my wife got pregnant, and now my baby's almost 8 months old, big, growing, very healthy. Everything is perfect. And guess what? Here is the next project. Another one. This is a hardtop. Crazy, right? Never would have thought that would have happened to me. Ever. Never would have thought that car would have been sitting there, or those cars, or any of the other cars. Sometimes you just have to be patient in life, work your ass off, and no matter what, never give up. If people tell you that you can't do things, work your ass off and prove them wrong. Trust me, I had a lot of people who told me I would never have that, or that, or that, or that, or that, any of it. But hey, sometimes that's the motivation you need to get things done. Anyways, you guys, I really hope y'all really enjoyed this video. I've really never put myself out there. I've always been very private about my life and my cars and, you know, everything. And, you know, I'll take this time to tell you that this is the reason I started YouTube. I only started YouTube because of the things that I went through, and I'm hoping to maybe encourage you guys that you guys can have all this stuff, all this crap. I mean, you can have it all. Just work hard, be patient, and you know, meanwhile, until you get to that point, I'm hoping to entertain you with my experience with these cars, especially this one and my wife's Supra that's over there, and hold you guys down until you get to that point. Because I know for the last 12 years, well, the 10 years before I got this car, I watched Supra videos on YouTube all day long, every day. But anyways, you guys, that's my story. That's why I started YouTube, and I hope you guys enjoy my content. I know some of y'all might not like the Mustang stuff, or, you know, clips, whatever, but hey man, it's my life. I'm gonna post about it, and I just hope y'all join me and y'all enjoy what I have to share. Hope y'all enjoyed. Thank y'all so much for the support. I know the channel has grown quite a bit, so for my new subscribers, you guys have any questions, drop it in the comments. I try to respond to everyone. But that's it, man. Really appreciate you guys. I'll go ahead and let y'all go. Catch you on the next video, okay? Later. Stay up.